Tech 8 versus Tech 8, no. They don't, they're just going to go in, but they're going to go into Highlands. Oh, they might win that. No, they do not win that. Unfortunate for them. Yeah, no. Do not attack into Highlands, that's not going to end well for you. Hello and welcome to the second recap of the Grand Campaign, Season 2. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at all the wars and main developments that have occurred during the second session. The session started quiet, and for the first half certainly stayed that way. There was and still remains a substantial amount of AI to eat. A somewhat successful example of this is seen here, with Usagi continuing to eat across Japan. However, less successful cases of these wars occurred too, like the papal attempt of their invasion into Naples, something that ended far less successfully, especially with Naples' general, which I do believe they most likely got from the champion of the joust event. Either way, not a very flattering look for the papal player to say the least. If you're interested in the wars against AI, I tried to cover a decent chunk of them in the stream, which can be seen on the stream 4, where I also go over the states of the countries thus far. But with that and the first half of the session out the way, let's move on to the player wars halfway through. Which was nothing too remarkable to begin with. Tunis and Morocco, being significantly beaten back from session 1, proved to be a prime target for Castile to go in against round 2. This time with Morocco probably understandably dishonouring the Court of Arms. Tunis did take this as an opportunity to deathwall, but he had basically no real chance against the Spanish onslaught, something that ended with his eventual defeat, leaving his country basically dead after this. I could try and find some close battles, but overall Tunis was struggling against Aragon, Castile's PU, meaning they had no real chance against Castile's main stacks, which in Castile's credit were kept relatively well reinforced and coherent throughout the war. Either way, the end of the war saw substantial territorial gains for Castile, and their hold over Africa all but secure. And with that passes another hour of the main stream, with more AI eating and country building seen by basically every player. More substantial expansions, however, can be seen with the Mamluks, who took this opportunity to basically eat all of the Ottoman land themselves, feeding a truly beautiful Byzantium in the process. This, however, attracted the attentions of the other members of the Session 1 anti-Ottoman coalition, who, feeling they got cheated out of the land, prepared for war themselves. Seeing the writing on the wall, the Mamluks made a rather interesting agreement with Dalmatia. They will stay out of the war, but in return, the Mamluks will basically give up their holdings in the Ragusa node to them. With that deal out of the way, the war against an unrestricted Mamluk expansion started here, and with it brought many a casualty. To say that this war went initially well for the coalition is an understatement. The Mamluks were initially pushed out very quickly from the European side of the Ottoman Empire, and the coalition started to leisurely lay siege to Constantinople. These initial gains, however, as always, were not always to be trusted, and as the Mamluks' allies rallied around them, the Mamluks started to bring their armies together, and the fighting had now begun yet again. The Mamluks launched a renewed offensive into the European parts of the Byzantine territory and contested the siege of Constantinople, and after some rather tight battles had started to make progress themselves into liberating Byzantine land. Slowly but surely the coalition was losing ground, and the Mamluks and Ethiopians continued their advance, with many a battle in the process. Eventually, however, the Mamluks were able to achieve superiority on this front, and started to push quite far into mainland Poland. Here finally they started to lose some battles, as the Polish found it a lot easier to reinforce from their end, while the Mamluks' base operations remained so far behind. However, this was too little too late, and as Poland was nearing bankruptcy, a decisive victory that the coalition had planned to inflict upon them was nowhere to be seen. With that, an unconditional surrender from the Polish followed, and a peace was signed, leading to substantial Polish losses of land. However, remembering the initial loss of land to Dalmatia, the Mamluks came out worse in that exchange too, with the true winners being the one that didn't participate in the war, Dalmatia. And this concludes probably our most peaceful session as of yet. Peaceful is a strong word as always, as hundreds of thousands still died without question, to AI or player alike, but far better than what we normally see in terms of player wars. What we do know for certain is the next session, the countries that took this time to rest would have the resources to wage quite a few more bloody wars. Regardless, this concludes the Grand Campaign recap for Episode 2. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.